And hello again, and I'm here again watching the censored version of the interview with the vampire. And today I decided to watch 2 episodes instead of 1. It's episode 3 and episode 4 of the first season. They are both barely half an hour long in the censored version. Well, mind you, they were not that long in the original, which was a shame. I need every episode to be at least 2 hours long. Here, especially in episode 3, I fear that they shaved a lot off, and episode 4, because it was more Claudia centered, I guess it wasn't as mangled as the third one. But that's just my speculation. I haven't seen them yet, so let's start.
Давай просто попробуем.
Что если мы...
So the first victim of the third episode is Mon cher. Let's pretend that we don't know French. I don't. I'm not even pretending, but I know what it said.
Возбудились все, наверное.
Следите за языком, это настоящая музыка.
Слышу только слова девственника.
Между прочим, у меня 20 детей, а вы что-то слишком зациклились на сексе.
It's not a censorship, it's just a fumble of the translation, but they confused the composer of this piece with Lestat, and Lestat says that the man had 20 children, but in the translation he says, I have 20 children. Kind of a stupid mistake to make, because that opens up a whole realm of questions. I'm a little bit amused that they just dropped this kind of info, decided not to elaborate on that.
22-й год.
В тот год зима была холодной.
Сан-Франциско.
Он казался слабым и глуп.
Again, they cut out the phrase, Lestat was my coal fire. So again, Louis here says, in comparison to his interview of 1973, where he thrashed Lestat, here they just left him saying it was a cold winter that year. What was that supposed to prove about the change in his attitude towards Lestat? Nothing, but they cut out this part in the first episode, so they had to cut it here. And it wasn't even like he confessed his love to him here, it's just he said that he was my co-fire. Oh my god.
И голос у него был просто ужасный.
Дубай.
Сейчас мы обсуждаем более подробный портрет.
And again, Daniel compares the 1973 interview with the current interview, and here they just let the excerpt from the 1973 interview play, but Daniel says Dubai and they just cut it. Like, we don't have the audio for the comparison piece. I was just about to start giving the censors some credit last episode, because they started putting in some effort into making this watchable, but this is a hack job. It doesn't make sense.
Я не жертва.
Прошло 50 лет, и теперь вы говорите о нем как о лучшем друге. Словно вы прошли с ним и огонь, и воду.
In the original, Daniel says that you talk about him like you were locked in some fucked up gothic romance, and here he says like you talk about him like he was your best friend.
Я сижу в Бьюике и смотрю в зеркало заднего вида. Рядом сидит дочь. Час спустя меня оштрафовали за отсутствие детского кресла.
In his book, he gave the last bucks he had to some guy he didn't know, obviously implying that he was buying drugs. And here they translated it as, I was fined for not having a baby car seat.
Вы были принцем вашего района. Не таким уж и плохим для вас был 17-й год.
Таким он казался только...
This is a hack job. What was with that sound? Did you hear it? It sounded weird, because they cut out the part where Daniel says, Lestat chased an American icon out of town because he loved you. Well, they could have let him in. No? Why not? Like, Lestat chased an American icon out of town because he cared about you, because you were his best friend. I'm like giving you option. I'm giving you options. Why cut it?
И что же о нас говорят работники Вазали?
Отвечу просьбой. Не можете ли вы показать мне, где спите?
Вам так интересно?
Мне жаль, но гостям туда нельзя.
Вот и посмотрела. И люблю мужчин.
I'm gathering my thoughts. So in the original, Antoinette implies that people are talking about the relationship between Louis and Lestat, that, you know, there are talks around town that they are lovers. And she asks, like, do you have the second bed upstairs? And then she said, like, where there's my answer, because they wouldn't allow her to see it. And in the translation, she asks, can I see your bedroom? Can you show me your bedroom? But without the implication that there was something untoward, going on there. And when Louis says, like, we don't show the bedroom to the guests, she says, like, oh, too bad. And here I was hoping. And also they cut out the part where Lestat says, what do you imagine confines us to a single note? One at a chord, one at a cluster. And where she says, I'm the same, I like all sorts. So Antoinette is tragically straight here.
Сам взгляни. Да.
A cigarette kiss, at least.
И что с того?
Что?
Не смейся.
Tragically, we of course don't have the scene of course. So instead of asking, aren't I enough, Louis asks, like, so what? I don't understand what that has to do with anything. They just cut it. Yeah, now it's straight to the next scene. Like, we don't need the kiss and the discussion of their open relationship. I expected that.
Что идет против наших прав по Конституции Соединенных Штатов.
Вы выманивали у Луи деньги, а он откупился по-своему. Что это, если не капитализм?
They're so insecure. They get out the line, sounds like some of a Russian Bolshevik scheme. I mean, it's even denied in the text of the episode. Why cut it?
Тебя клуб впечатлил? Ты еще мой автомобиль не видел?
Луи де Пондюлак.
This is so obviously flirting. I don't know how blind you should be not to notice that. They haven't changed like any of the dialogue because it was all a little bit concealed, even in the original.
Если честно, я принял решение пойти в армию, потому что услышал о европейском менталитете. Им плевать, как ты выглядишь.
Да, я понимаю.
Well, at least we see some topless Lestat, so I'm interested in how that plays out, but they cut everything else from the Halloween Jonah scene, so the last thing they translated was that Jonah was excited about European sensibilities, that Europeans don't care what you look like, and of course they didn't translate the part where he says who you're looking at. Yeah, that was it. Louis just said to him, yeah, I understand that, and that was it. I have a question. Why would they feel the need to go to the middle of nowhere in the freaking forest just to talk like two buddies talk? What would be the point of the friction between Louis and Lestat in this episode? The point of all these jealousy and all of these messiness is that Louis refuses to eat. He's ashamed of his nature. So Lestat takes that personally because he feels like Louis being ashamed of killing and being a vampire, it means that he is ashamed of Lestat and that he is not committed to it and that he will leave him eventually. So Lestat starts his affair with Antoinette to shake Louis, to rattle him, to bring his attention to the fact that you need to be a vampire, right? Lestat's thinking, I'm acting that way, you are acting out this way, let's cut the bullshit and just be together and be vampires together. So that's the crux of the problem, that's the crux of their conflict. If you take out the romantic entanglement, if you take out the jealousy, then what's left? Why would Louis feel like Lestat is betraying him with Antoinette? Why would Lestat feel any kind of a jealousy towards the situation with Jonah? It doesn't make sense. So I'm curious what they're going to talk about here.
Пришел в мой старый дом, встретил там Грейс.
Старый друг?
An old love is an old friend here.
Мы общались в молодости. Может, позже?
Ладно. Закрой двери.
what's the point of this tension between them if they're not in love? It doesn't make sense. So okay, you are sleeping with Antoinette, so okay, you had some weird discussion with Jonah in the woods. Okay, like, what is the problem then if you are friends? Why are you so tense? Why are you acting like that? I don't know. I actually feel kind of bad because there is no way to twist it, to spin it, to make it make sense.
Что это?
Oh, they left the twirl.
С ума сошел? А как же гробы?
Чтобы их найти, нужен ум и любопытство. Этим убийцам нужно только...
But they cut the part where Lestat says, let's have an orgy.
Что сказать? Я сложный. Со мной тяжело.
So the point of him saying that I'm a lot and I'm not perfect is that it's Louis' words that he said to Jonah in the woods. So they left Lestat saying these words, but they cut out the Louis original words. What is that supposed to imply here? Nothing. I have an answer for that. Nothing.
Я знал, что ты был рядом.
Like, Louis says here, I knew that you were there, but how? Because we didn't see it. As the viewers, we didn't see it, so how would that imply that Lestat was there?
Я не люблю делить друзей.
Антуанетта.
Lestat's here, I don't like sharing friends. Well, that's also very valid, I would say. Yeah, there are people who don't like sharing friends.
Это старый друг. Он едет на...
So instead of he gave me some face, Louis says that he's an old friend, he's going to work. Like, you should understand where I'm coming from. That I just had to go to the woods with him. You know, he's an old friend. Isn't that what you do with all your old friends?
Ты следил за нами из-за деревьев.
А потом увидел, как ты наелся собакой и бегал по аллее за крысами.
Oh no. There is no more hard dancing. That's tragic. That's tragic.
А ваш странный дружок с огромным мешком неизвестно откуда взятых денег. И все, чем вы зарабатываете, чем живете, чем кичитесь, не изменит того факта.
So Pale Lover is just a weird friend now, and all the weird's going on in the sodomite townhouse is just the way that you make money. In weird ways, I guess, with your weird friend.
Наконец-то ты принял свой темный дар.
Там же люди страдают.
Ты всего лишь...
There is no anniversary. They cut out the part where the set implies that they should make this day their anniversary.
Поэтому мы с тобой не друзья.
So that's why we're not friends anymore. Oh, so Louis unfriended Lestat here. Sad. Many such cases. So, okay, so now that's done. Let's move to episode 4.
Где Луи?
Мистер Депон Дюлак сегодня будет отдыхать. Пройдемте в читальный зал.
I'm surprised they haven't censored this criminal neckline. I am distracted every time I see it.
И кем она будет? Собачонкой?
Нет, не собакой. Я хочу спасти ее. Прошу.
I'm mystified by the choice to cut out the part where Lestat says a daughter. Louis, literally 2 episodes ago, confessed that he would want to have a family, that he is distraught that he would never have sons and daughters of his own. So he obviously wants a daughter. It's not even implied that they would have a daughter. So what is the point of cutting that piece of information? I don't know.
Прошу.
Obviously, they also cut out the part where Lestat says that you are ready to abandon our home.
Мы семья?
Да. Никаких секретов.
But here they say their family. So what was the point of cutting the daughter line? I don't understand.
Дядя Лес и папа Лу были богаты. У них была красивая одежда и автомобиль.
Did you see that? They didn't translate the line of Claudia's where she said that Louis and Lestat had a funny way of being nice to each other, but they left that caress.
Я устал, лучше не зли меня.
Где остальные вампиры?
Уютное гнездышко.
Is French too risky for the Russian censorship because they cut out the part where Louis and Lestat just argue in French about Claudia's drive for knowledge?
Ждать транспорт всегда неприятно, особенно в жаркую погоду.
They left the sound of the casket opening, but they cut out everything else. Obviously, no scene of Louis and Lestat like reuniting in one coffin. Actually, I'm always confusing what is coffin and what is a casket. Was that a coffin or was that a casket? I'm not sure. But anyway, you get the idea. They cut the part out.
Каково это? Любить.
Claudia here asks what it is like to love. Just to love. I guess that question makes sense. She had a sheltered life, she was turned at 14, she doesn't know what love is, but we know that in the original she asked what it is like, love between two men.
Ты любил кого-то?
Да. Ну, или мне так казалось. Сейчас я никого не люблю. Листат в этом плане другой.
Louis, he says, nowadays I'm not in love with anyone, and that Lestat is different, implying that Lestat is in love with someone. Is he talking about Antoinette? So in this scene, they switched the question from like love between two men to just in general talking about love, which I guess also has its meaning and its place. So I'm not mad. I am mad. I'm mad. Oh, I'm kidding.
Папочка Лу, когда я вырасту для него?
Найдем твоего размера.
Не успела я оглянуться, как пришла осень.
Хватит.
Did you see that? Again, a very awkward cut. For some reason, they cut out the part where Claudia says that Louis and Lestat have problems and that she's the one who like gets between them to make it right. In a scene just before that, she mentioned that they were a family, that they were a happy home, albeit a bit odd. They are an established family unit. So why do they cut the mention of Louis and Lestat having problems? That actually takes out a lot of context from what's going on.
Мы не можем заплатить все, но тебе не нужны деньги.
So no white daddy for Louis here. Grace doesn't say it. They didn't translate it. And, you know, good. Every time someone called Lestat daddy, a piece of me died.
Клодия была...
Попытка спасти дружбу?
The Claudia was a band-aid for shitty friendship here. How does that even work? In what universe do you get a child to mend relationship with your best friend? It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Because it doesn't. And the end. So all in all, I think, and now I know that the third episode was cut more than the fourth, just because of the point of view shift, and that in the episode 4 we had more of a Claudia story. And still I am baffled by some of the decisions, some of the scenes that they decided to cut. It's very inconsistent, let's say that. They leave some of the scenes that call back to the scenes before them that were cut, and sometimes they leave some insinuations that are very obvious but then cut out something really innocuous. So I'm not feeling this censorship at all. I don't know how people watch it and make sense of it. I mean, even if you think about the 1994 movie, it wasn't obviously as explicitly queer, but it was all in the subtext, I guess. And here they decided maybe to recreate that vibe, but it's just failing because this story is much more obvious, is much more explicitly stated. Well, it's not much more, it's just plainly explicitly stated. So it is much trickier to try to bend it into something that it's not, and something that it's not trying to be, or even something that it's trying to avoid being. So let's see what they have in store next. So comment, like, subscribe, yada yada. See you next time.